everyone, and welcome to another very special recording / episode of Magic of the Heart Cave with your co-hosts Lacey, aka the Paper Druid, and myself, Brendon, aka Mystic Spider-Man. And it's been quite a journey since we began this project, and technically this is only our second episode, and here we are at the brink of a pregnancy and ready to be able to give birth as soon as, who knows, like it could even happen tomorrow, it could happen a couple of weeks. We'll see what happens, but Lacey and I are here, and we really just wanted to be able to take this opportunity to be able to record something, to be able to document our journey, to be able to share a little bit about how this experience has really helped us kind of like bring our awareness even more into our heart, how it's expanded our own consciousness. And so for this episode, what we'll be doing is we'll just kind of be like sharing a little bit about what the journey has been like so far, where we are, reflecting on being individuals, being partners, conscious parents, and yeah, just kind of seeing where the conversation flows. So Lacey, thank you so much as always for being here with us, and for being a part of this discussion. And I know it was important. We were both kind of, even before we like recorded this, we're just like oh yeah, like we should definitely film an episode, so here we are, we're filming the episode. And we hope that in some way this inspires you. We hope it gives you some insight into a little bit about, what the experience has been like for us. So Lacey, if you want to just say hello and kind of like welcome people, and we'll just kind of like go with the flow and see where the conversation goes. So
we've been wanting to do this for a little while, so it's nice to be here to just kind of talk about our thoughts and just the journey the past 9 months, because it's been quite the journey. I'm just happy to be here to share pretty much.
yeah So I mean, we can even kind of go back and just kind of like, the theme of this episode is just kind of like, like the magic of bringing a baby into this world, and what it means, and what an incredible gift, like, I mean, like the fact that we as humans can literally, like, it still blows my mind, like me and Lacey, every now and then we're like, even though like, again, we have a child here who's literally like, like ready to come out into the world any day now, and even still we're just kind of like, it's still so surreal, the concept of birth, and the concept of like, we kind of joke about it, or it's like, oh, it's almost like very like science fiction. It's just like, it's like we're like merging our DNA, like we're like creating a fractal of ourselves that's like a combined version of who we are, like who, yet they in themselves will be their own unique human, their own unique soul. So I mean, like, Lacey, as it kind of, is it still sinking in terms of the fact that we're having a child together?
It's been quite a, like he said, like a surreal experience. And I'm sure, as like any other parent out there, or if you've ever been pregnant or whatever, it's an interesting time. There's a lot of introspection, and which we were constantly having conversations and talking about our, what's going on inside ourselves, inside our hearts. And it I don't know if it'll never not be, I guess, beyond my wildest dreams. I think that it's just such a gift, and it's each day it kind of tests me and is teaching me so much about myself, but also what's important to me, and what, like, my relationships and stuff. So I would say it's pretty crazy. I'm having a baby with
pretty
you.
Crazy. Yeah.
I feel so blessed.
We literally used to like joke about this, and so then be like, oh yeah, like,
we'd love to have kids.
Love to have kids someday, and
we both love kids. So.
and again, and just for context, not everyone knows this. Lacey this is her second child, so already the mother of a wonderful 7-year-old. And and
so I've done this before, different circumstances and contexts, and I was 20 around 25, so I was younger, and my relationship with I think with pregnancy and birth was still, I think, deeply spiritual, and deeply, I knew that it would transform me, but I didn't know just how much. But now, as I'm doing it again, it's like an initiation process for both me and Brendon
Yeah.
as well as
It's a good way
my
of
son
putting it.
Jaden. He's also being initiated
Yeah.
into a bigger role in his life,
Yeah.
and it's just been such a beautiful experience.
Mm-hmm.
Challenging as well, but like definitely beautiful to kind of witness everyone kind of step into these new roles. And
Yeah.
yeah, which I'm also like, even though I am a mom, I've been a mom, but I'm still like becoming more. That's the only way I can explain it, because I think each time you take that leap, it's definitely scary and exciting, and you know that there's parts of yourself that are going to change. So yeah,
and it's amazing because, you know, like, we kind of look at this from like a metaphysical spiritual perspective, and it's like, okay, yes, like birth is a natural part of the human experience and everything, but, you know, from a very like metaphysical perspective, it's already like this child with their presence has already provided us this gift of transformation for ourselves. So here we are, you know, showing up as, you know, again, like the stewards for this child, to be able to help welcome them into this world. And yet in the process of, even, you know, like, since the moment that they were just, you know, a little tiny like seedling in Lacey's womb, since that moment, it's been nothing but transformation for us personally. You know, coming into that realization, and we'll have to talk even just about, you know, kind of just like when we first found out about it. There's a little bit of a story there which is quite fascinating and very synchronistic. But you know, even, you know, for myself, like, this is obviously like my first time becoming a father, and so it's really given me the opportunity to really be able to reflect on, like, well, what type of father do I want to be? Like, who am I as a father, right? So this is a chance for me to actually get to meet that part of myself. And Lacey has been very supportive, and, you know, it's just like, oh, you'll be a great dad, or you'll be, you know, you're already such a good like fatherly figure. And I definitely feel that. And you know, for me, it has been a process where it's just kind of like, I'm just kind of doing my best to just kind of like keep my awareness in my heart, really just kind of go with the flow, trusting this process, trusting that I'll be able to show up, but then also giving myself those opportunities to look inwards and really kind of like, you know, make the choice, not just to like purely go with the flow, but to be like, you know, it's just like, yeah, like, I'm gonna be the best father that I can be, but like, I also like want to like steer that ship. I want to be able to like make sure I'm becoming the best father I can be, you know, like becoming more conscious, becoming more aware, you know, like making the unconscious conscious. And so, you know, even within the last couple of weeks, like, I've really just like, you know, fortunately, like, I've been able to like get back into like the gym, and I've been able to play hockey. And I've really just kind of like put things into high gear, where it's just kind of like, you know, like, I want to be able to, you know, show up as this best version of myself, like for myself, for Lacey, for this child, so that I can be as present as possible. And you know, I'll just say this, I'll pass over to Lacey. Like, it's when I take time to really like meditate on, you know, like what my relationship is like with this child, and this child has a name, and I'm not sure whether or not we'll I don't know, maybe we'll say it in this podcast. I'm not entirely sure, though. I'll leave that to Lacey to decide. This you know, this beautiful child, you know, when I reflect on like what my relationship like is with them, I kind of like imagine, meditate, like, you know, like seeing them in my arms, but then also kind of like seeing them when they're 5 years old, seeing them when they're 13 years old, seeing them when they're 18 years old. And to me, you know, like, my role is really to be able to like help prepare them to be, you know, a person that will help, you know, this world become something different. So you know, without me trying to like kind of like, you know, like put my own expectations on them, but also it's just kind of like, you know, like perceiving from that place of curiosity, where it's just like, well, who is this child here to be? And just kind of, you know, like looking at the fact of, you know, like both Lacey and I, and our passion for wanting to be able to help shift consciousness on a grander scale, and, you know, our role as artists, and our role as community facilitators and healers and visionaries, and all of these hats that we wear. You know, for me, it's just kind of like, whoever this child is, like, I want to do my best to be able to help prepare them to kind of like pass that light, pass that torch, so that they too, you know, will become that adult that will perhaps have an impact on like thousands of people, or at least even just the people in their immediate vicinity. And you know, really wanting them to kind of, you know, continue to, you know, like I want them to be able to receive some of the wisdom that I've gained over the years, while still giving them the opportunity to learn their own experiences, and really, you know, just kind of like feeling into this child who they will be, and just kind of like seeing them again kind of as a fractal of us. And I just kind of feel it's just like this very just kind of like gentle, kind, creative, artistic, compassionate being, and also again, you know, kind of like without me fully knowing, kind of living from that curiosity of just like, well, what is their story, like who are they here to become, and that really motivates me, because it's not my role to dictate that, but it is my role to be a steward of that, to help give them what they need so that they can arrive there, knowing that that is our own, like kind of from this non-linear perspective, like that's already like existing, in a way, and it's just my job to get them there, to help prepare them for this world that they will be brought up in, and yeah, and just kind of like hold their hand along the way, metaphorically and literally. So
for sure.
yeah.
Well said. Yeah, I think that just simply by being, and I think by this child coming into the world is already shifting consciousness. I guess that's my perception of it. They've chosen to come here, both me and Brendon obviously being spiritual people, a relationship to you know, conceiving a human being, you know, it's been like totally psychedelic and incredible. And yeah, I think that we just mostly as parents, like new parents, and just want to be able to hold space for this baby to be their best selves, and whether or not, you know, they're some great leader or something like that. I don't think that's the main goal. I think the main goal is that they feel loved and supported, and in doing so, that will impact, whether that's one person, whether that's, you know, the energetic field of the earth. I think bringing more conscious babies into the world is so important right now. And I know there's a lot of people that are getting pregnant right now and bringing new babies into the world. So as unknown as the future can be and is, I think we trust the flow, and we're trusting and surrendering to the flow that's literally unfolding before us right now, and which we could get into, like talking about how we found out we were pregnant.
It's been synchronistic since day one, man.
So. I mean, synchronicity has followed me and Brendon probably as long as I've known him. So literally, it makes sense that
we met through synchronicity. Like the baby's birth has been synchronicity. It's all very divine, so to speak.
It's felt very divine, and we felt very supported and held. And you know, there's even times in our past that had some pretty beautiful visionary experiences where, you know, I talked to, like, I guess my ancestors, and they really they showed me a vision that they supported us and they supported our union. This was early on in our relationship, and it was quite moving to me, because to see people from, you know, thousands and thousands of years that have created me come together to say, yes, like this is meant to be and this is right. And then, you know, so it kind of like guided us in our relationship to trust the challenges, and, like, you know, the unexpected or the surprises that have come out of that, and which is this baby, definitely chosen, but a surprise. So it's it's been really cool.
It's interesting because, you know, Lacey and I, we've had those conversations where it's like, you know, it's like the baby chose us, you know, like the baby is like, it's like, you know, choosing us to be parents, and kind of with what Lacey was saying, you know, it's like our role as parents is again, you know, to just be able to like water their heart, and then in the process of doing that, just to love them, you know, as best as we can, while continuing to love ourselves. And then over that process, you know, they will blossom, and within them already exists the seed of who they are meant to be, in the same way it is with me, in the same way with Lacey, in the same way with whoever's listening to this.
Just an act of remembering. Like they're remembering who they are,
right,
their soul
right.
essence. And we, I always say to Brendon, and we've had conversations where it's like, we don't have ownership over him. He's, his own being.
Yeah.
And we are so grateful to be able to share life with him and see him be whoever he wants to be. And I think that's just the magical part of it, and not like influencing or controlling or, I don't know if anyone else, feels that way, but like, if you have family trauma, or you come from maybe a situation where your parents were, doing their best, they, whatever they expected, different generations and stuff like that. But for me, I think us raising, I like want to say his name every time I keep saying
him, they,
him, like raising him, that
Wolf Jr.
Wolf Jr. that I get to heal my parts of my past through showing up for him. And it's as someone that's done it for 7 years already, I think it's really, really just such a beautiful experience. Like, it's like, whoa, like you see yourself through your child, and you get to finally like almost nurture a part of yourself through that act. It's very, very beautiful. It's very transcendental. Time kind of folds in on yourself, and you like meet your younger self through the child. And I'm kind of wild. And I'm kind of like anticipating that, where like flash forward like a year from now and be like is this who I was when I was 1 year old? But then again, to think that it's not just me, it's like Lacey and me combined, like, which is like blowing my mind here. I know, right? That's so true. And so like by me like helping in the process of loving this child, that in itself like is also helping like heal whatever wounds exist within us, like it helps heal Lacey's childhood. It helps just kind of like nurture, and again, it's very I kind of have this perspective of time and birth that's a little bit different from some people, but I think more people are starting to kind of like feel into it, where again, it's kind of like this idea that, the baby is just like the earlier version of the 18-year-old version of themselves that already exists. So it's just kind of like we're helping them get there. And then it's just kind of like that 18-year-old version of them already exists inside the baby. So again, like if we were to look at them, we can kind of like, and I haven't had this experience yet, but I'm just kind of like imagining, you kind of like look into their eyes and you're just like I see you. Like, I don't just see you as a small little baby. I see you as a soul. I see you as a young man. I see you as, someone who's going to have their own life. And so, even for me, like it's fascinating because, it's like we're still young. We're in our 30s and everything like that, but we've obviously had plenty of time to be able to experience the awe and the wonder and the mystery of this reality and the gifts it has to give. And so, for me now, it's kind of like, well, obviously there's still many more gifts for me to be able to receive, but now I have this opportunity to be able to, again, kind of like help this young one to be able to say, it's like, now it is your turn to experience this mystery. Now it is your turn to be able to experience this adventure. And that's what people always talk about, the just unfathomable joy of being able to kind of like relive those moments of awe and wonder through the experience of the child viscerally and vicariously, so like when they see a bird fly over them for the first time, there's like and it's like, and when they like touch water for the first time, like wow, and it's just kind of like all these like kind of like very like interesting moments, which again, I'm just kind of like holding a lot of space for in my heart, and just, I'm just going to do my best to be as present as possible, without fully kind of having like, it's, I'm not fully having like an expectation on like what it's going to be. I'm just, again, just kind of like inviting in any support, just praying for things to just kind of be like healthy and smooth.
And yeah, and then, you know, just looking forward to being able to just kind of like experience the journey as it unfolds before us, and to be there to support, you know, the love of my lives as best as I can.
For
So
sure. And there'll be lots of bumps in the road and challenges. And
yeah.
I find, you know, being a parent is like this very selfless act. It definitely puts you in a role of like they say, you know, unconditional love. Your babies always come first, and you know, it can be scary at times when they get hurt or when things don't go as planned. And but you always like, it's just amazing how we always rise to the occasion, and you will really see yourself in like a totally new light. And I think, you know, if you're listening to this now and you're thinking about becoming a parent, or you're new on the journey, or maybe you don't even want to have children, I think that it's just being in the presence of children in general can be very transformative, which we've said, like give us an opportunity to no longer be self-centered. You know, you really have to like almost like leave your body, and like it's like, it's hard to explain. It's like something that can only be like felt or experienced, really. But it's probably like the greatest, like, what's the word I'm looking for, like
and you kind of said initiation earlier.
Initiation, like for me, like
it's like a ceremony that takes
it's a
place
ceremony, over, you know, like your whole life. Like it's like, you know, the role of being a mentor, being like you know,
a guardian
for someone, and passing on your, like you said, passing on your wisdom, passing on like whatever you experience throughout your life, hopefully mostly good stuff, as well as talking to them about the challenging things. And for me, I think that me and Brendon see eye to eye with how we want to parent, with being very like intentional and present, but also very real, and
letting them kind of follow their own intuition even at a young age,
and you know, not like stopping them from seeing the truth. I think exposing children to, you know, what this reality is, which is both dark and light, and both, you know, chaos and like unity, and you know, like all these things. And a lot of the times you'll find people are like, well, you know, like, I don't know, there's a balance. It's like finding the right times to give them those like lessons. Okay, like this is, you know, things aren't like, you know, sunflowers, and like, you know, like there's this balance.
Need to prepare them.
You need to prepare them for the world, because that is our job. Our job is to prepare them to be able to go into the world feeling confident and supported in the choices they make, and also making mistakes. Because I find like a lot of parents like
don't let their kids make mistakes.
And they want to really shield them from like you know, failure and like darkness that happens in like human experience. Like we're all going to experience loss, you know, like jealousy, all these like deep, you know, emotional, and you can't like, children can't avoid that. And so for us, I think the more we do the work on ourselves, where we're dealing with these deep emotional things, the better we can hold space for them when they eventually face those, like, you know, heartbreak and all of those things. So it's a cool job for sure.
Already preparing ourselves for that talk when they get their heart broken for the first time.
And it will happen.
It will happen.
Yeah.
So, no, it's interesting to just kind of like take a moment where you kind of like meditate, and you just kind of like imagine all these different milestones, you know, that we're going to move through and everything like that. So but we can go back and even just kind of, you know, again, you know, for Lacey and I, like this pregnancy, though it wasn't necessarily like, there was an intention to obviously have a child at some point.
However, to give it like
we
a
figured
little bit more time.
our timeline was a little bit different from what the timeline that the universe had planned.
Yeah.
But again, we have this perspective where it's just like, like things are happening for a reason. They're happening when they're meant to happen. And even just with where we are now, like we're recording this video right around the time of the equinox, and the idea of this baby coming at springtime is very special to us. And whether it's on the equinox or a little bit past the equinox, they'll come when they're ready. That's totally fine.
Yeah.
But going back to like even just like the literally like like back in July was around the time where the baby first kind of arrived into our space. And we can even just kind of like talk a little bit, because the day there's a crazy synchronicity. Like there's a really crazy story here that just depending on who you are, some people would just be like, oh my goodness, like that's beautiful, like that's like a sign from the heavens or something like that. Or just kind of like a little like brofist from the universe is the way I think of it. But if anything, it was almost kind of like the consciousness of the baby like already communicating to us through synchronicity. And that's something Lacey can even talk about, even as we keep going with this. Just kind of like this relationship that we're already cultivating with this being, before they were even conceived. Like Lacey talking, she can tell you about it, but like her dreams and premonitions, and there's other stuff that we have that we'll probably keep private, which is very personal to us in terms of our relationship with this person, this soul. But one of the things that was very interesting was the day that we actually found out that Lacey was pregnant. And so like the exact day that we found out that she was pregnant was actually 1 year to the anniversary of our engagement. So some of you who saw, recently we posted on social media, we're like, oh, we're engaged, and we announced that on the February 222 date. And that in itself was just kind of updating people on the fact that at that point we have been engaged for quite some time. So we literally got engaged on July 25th 2020. And there's a couple of things as to why that date is very interesting. First of all, it's in the Mayan calendar, it's a date that's known as the day out of time. So it's kind of like this day within the Mayan astrology and the Mayan spiritual perspectives, where it's kind of like this time where like the veil is kind of like extra thin, and the space between spirit and physical is overlapping. And
that was like, we've talked a bit about that weekend, which I won't get into here, but we
can talk. We'll reference it, but go ahead.
Like the whole weekend was really synchronistic. Like even leading up to it, like I had planned this trip for his birthday, and it's a place that it's up in Muskoka, just like northern Ontario. And I've always gone there every year. This particular time I picked this location called, was it Crystal Lake, and I found a little cabin and surprised me with the cabin there. And so we both were like, going there because we both love nature, we both love to camp, and we also love to just connect with I guess the higher dimensional, I don't know. So we went with an intention to like just kind of completely get off grid, and just be present with each other. And it was like the first time we really got to do that with each other. I think. It was very special because
and obviously
I'm busy mom
the first time like I'm just like, finally I'm alone with her, and then I proposed, right? It's just literally didn't wait a day. But anyway, just to kind of like jump the gun and go back, this was on the day that I proposed, was actually like the day of the evening prior, where we had our contact experience, our UFO contact experience,
like
and
the
night before. So like the contact experience that we had, and some of you have heard this, and that was us doing CE5, and maybe we'll do another podcast on the whole details, and we've talked about this before, but very, very like incredibly psychedelic experience where we were out on the dock, we meditated,
so much signs like leading up. That's what I meant by synchronicity.
Like all the way
driving up to Muskoka, like stuff on like the music we were listening to, like there was like these like talks about connecting with our almost like our ancestors, or like these higher dimensional beings, like there was like so much, and we didn't want to put too much expectation on the CE5. It was our first experience doing it together. There was only 2 of us. We weren't sure if it would
human initiated contact, so
we didn't know if anything would happen, but us being who we are, we knew that either way we felt like in our hearts that there would be some type of connection that would take place.
Yeah.
It was more beyond what we ever
way
thought.
more visceral. Yeah. So
So-
again, just kind of like piecing the puzzle pieces together here, like the fact that we found out about Lacey being pregnant a year later
yeah,
to that date,
same
or
day.
2 years, what, yeah, a year later to that specific date, a year later to
July
our 25th,
25th.
a year later to our really big UFO contact experience. So I mean, you know, from our perspective, it's just like those things aren't separate. Like there's a whole intricate connection between that contact experience and our pregnancy and our engagement. And again, without us even having to fully kind of like get into like our own personal relationship to it, you know, it was something that, from my perspective at least, and Lacey can speak on this herself, it was really just kind of like a sign from our guides and our ancestors. It was just kind of just like, it's like, this is sacred, like this is meant to happen, you know. And I remember even in like leading up to when we found out that Lacey was pregnant, and you know, intuitively I'm just like I think she's pregnant. I had already like kind of like accepted, and I'm just like, no, I'm pretty sure she's pregnant, right?
He thought it, like, I don't know, I think I was slightly in denial because like,
oh yeah, you're just like
I was just trying not to
yet,
think that I was, because
like, yeah, I got stuff to do. I got
what was so crazy is that I think a couple weeks prior, like my son Jaden had actually laid on my belly.
Oh yeah.
He said
baby, like touches her belly.
And I know
like,
there's
baby.
like people have documented that like siblings like kind of picking up on it before anyone else does.
Yeah.
And he said that, and I was like, oh.
At that point, you would have just had.
I think I would have been like a week
a week
pregnant. Like it was like early on. It was like, you know, beginning of July.
Yeah. And Jaden's very intuitive too. Like there's been multiple things where he's kind of like said stuff,
and you're like, huh? Like, oh my gosh. And then I started like in that moment, I was like,
something we don't. So.
I was just like, oh no, like
that's silly.
I know that you're
maybe so cute. That's silly.
Yeah, it's silly. And then Brendon, you know, had made a comment just being like, hey, like checking in, you know, like,
has your red panda shown up yet?
Your red panda. Has your moon arrived? And and I was like, no, actually. And I'm very, you know, consistent, and I'm in tune, and I track my cycles and everything like that. So I knew that I was, you know, late, but not technically, like I wasn't like 35 past, but I knew that I was a couple days past when I normally would get it. And I thought, you know,
might as well check.
I'm like, well, first, might as well check. I went into work that day, and I couldn't get off my mind, because he had said, you know, like, well, let me know, like just checking in, because I think he was like, you know, picking up on it before I did.
Yeah, just being there for you. So.
And I was like, oh, I'll wait, because, you know, you don't want to like test too early, and then I don't know, there's like this weird feeling of like, if I'm not, like, will I wish that I was. Like, it's like this weird place, and you kind of just
want to, but you don't want to.
yeah. So, and I mean, at the time I was just like working a lot and not planning to have a baby anytime soon.
I had officially moved in.
Like he had just moved in with me.
Barely a month.
I think it was a month in like almost 2 months at that point.
Almost 2 months. Yeah.
But so, I guess I got pregnant.
And we were just like, it's like, oh yeah, you know, it's just like, it's like someday we're gonna get married, but we'll just live together for a while and really feel it out. And then the universe is just like,
to plan a wedding.
You guys should just like have a baby right away. And we're just like, oh, okay, like I guess that's, you know,
that's
what's happening. So
that morning when I went to work, it was July 25th.
Yep. Yeah.
And I was talking to my coworker.
I think it was like a Monday or Tuesday or something.
Yeah, and I was talking to my coworker, and I was just like, yeah, like I might be pregnant. And she's just like, oh, maybe you should just take a test. Just do it. And so she's like kind of the one that like convinced me to just go. So after I got off work, went and picked one up, and then went back home with Brendon. I don't know if he picked me up from work that day.
We walked home. We walked past the drugstore.
So he did pick me up, and and then we went home, And then of course the rest is history. I mean, we did the test,
Yeah.
and I was like,
yeah,
and it was
she
clear,
goes
definitely
into the,
clear that I was
yeah,
pregnant.
very pregnant.
I was like, whoa, that happened much quicker than I anticipated. And I feel so blessed that, you know, it happened.
Yeah. And I still remember just kind of like standing in the kitchen, and she was in the bathroom, just kind of,
I wanted to look at it alone.
She's looking at her own and just kind of like waiting, and then she just kind of comes out, and then, you know, like my reaction was like I was smiling, but it was very just kind of just
taking
very
it
calm, and just kind of like be like, yep, this is happening.
And I'm like, I'm pregnant.
And then we just hugged, and we cried, and it was really special.
And it was so wonderful to feel so supported by Brendon, and know that he was saying yes to it, because I know that it was a surprise, and it's a lot to take for anyone. And
of course I want to have a baby with you. So. Talked about.
I know we talked. We
more or less.
Like I said, we both just felt that there was children in our lives,
and that's where, you know, maybe we can talk about this, and then we'll probably get close to wrapping this up, because we're, you know, you've talked about this more than I have, this idea of like feeling like there's a soul that wants to come through, like particularly between us, right? So like already, you know, it's interesting, because it's just like there's already this relationship between ourselves and this child, even though we haven't seen them, met them in their face yet. You know, we're meeting them through the stomach and everything, through the womb.
But I've met them before.
But she's met them
in
dream time, and just like and so I mean, if you want to talk a bit about that, and then we'll probably wrap this up, because I'm sure one of us has to pee. So
you are correct. So I, for a couple of years before me and Brendon, like, I guess, like, got pregnant, we were seeing each other casually, like, you know, we were dating,
getting to know each other.
Like, we weren't in like a committed relationship at the time.
It was pretty low-key. So.
It was pretty low-key.
Yeah.
But I was definitely in love with Brendon, and didn't know where things were going to go, but I kept having these dreams where me and him were with this child that I had never met before, and he would be like different ages, like sometimes he'd be like 3 years old, or he'd be like 7 or 8. And every time that he would come into the dream, it was this really, really beautiful experience, and their energy was super, I don't know how to explain it, like, well, we end up saying watery, because every time in the dream he would be in water. So he would either be swimming, or one time me, Brendon, and him and my older son were like walking through the water while he was surfing on this little surfboard, and we were kind of guiding him on the surfboard, like all supporting him, like me, Jaden, and Brendon. And so he kept coming in different ages, and I kept thinking, wow, like, is this like my future baby or something? Like, that's the only way I could explain it, because I was like who is this? He was in the dream, I knew he was mine and Brendon's, like, that was our baby. It looked like us. It's like shaggy hair, like blondish hair, and like blonde hair. He looked like a cute little cheeks, surfer. Cute nose. He was super cute. And in the dream time, I wasn't sure of his gender, because he was young, and it was hard to tell. But there was like a masculine energy, but also quite like feminine and watery and like very sweet, like his dad, I guess. Artistic and all of these things. So we're so curious who he's going to be when he comes out, because we did have those experiences in that dream time. And I started to tell Brendon about it. I don't think I told him at first, because I didn't want to scare him away. Oh yeah, that would have freaked me out. I'm dreaming of a future baby, although I'm sure he'd be all for that. But yeah, I was. I'd just be like, all right, that's a good sign. That's a good sign. Keep going forward with this. Yeah, and eventually I did start telling him about these beautiful dreams, and some of them were quite like out of this world, is the only way I can explain it. Is like, well, weren't there ones where we were like flying UFOs? Like there was like like ships and stuff, and like one where we were on a ship and like jumping off of it into like this beautiful like crystal clear lake, like this beautiful, yeah, so crystal lake, yeah. So there's these weird synchronicities, like just kind of time folding in on itself over the couple of years. So when we did find out we were pregnant, it was just like, whoa, like this is like meant to be. Like even as scary as it was like there was
and it's
something going on beyond us.
And that's this kind of goes back to the UFO experience, because it's like it's like, as much as this is our child, it's like there's another consciousness, there's like another, like, again, almost like it's not even one consciousness, it's like a collective of consciousness that is like wanting this baby to come through. And that's where, again, going back to the UFO experience that we had, which again was basically, long story short, for context, you can visualize this in your mind. We were meditating down on the dock, did CE5, again, kind of visualizing our coordinates. And then in addition to some blinks, like a single orb, like kind of like came down from high altitude, like very visceral, very real, very close, and like floated past us for a good like 15-20 seconds. And then in that experience, Lacey, she can tell you more about this as well, because she's talked to me about it, but she was just kind of like, in that moment, it was almost as if there was just like a beam of love where it was just like whatever was in that craft, like perhaps, this is again very theoretical, is connected to this child, in the sense that they were just like, and you talked about this, where they're just like, they're like not only do we love you, but we want you to love each other. We like, I mean, you could say it, but
so for the experience, I've had UFO experiences before.
Both of us have,
when I was
that
younger,
was the most visceral one,
but like those were like completely just kind of
not as personal.
No, they were just kind of random. I just happened to be in the right place at the right time to experience. And it kind of runs in my, like, a lot of my family members have also experienced that. So when we went out to go do CE5, it was like, whoa, this is cool. I didn't realize you could like intentionally try to like contact. And so when we made contact, and it was just the single ship, and it came pretty low down to where we were, and we were sitting, but we got like, we stood up, like we were like, whoa, like this is happening. And it's trying to communicate with us. And Brendon had said, like, you can kind of like talk, like telepathically connect with it with your thoughts. And I was like, okay. So in that moment when it came close towards us, I was communicating with it, and suddenly this like psychic link was created. And I never experienced like anything like that in my life. And I've had a lot of spiritual experiences. I'm a really sensitive person, but this was beyond anything I can possibly, I don't think anything will top this. It was like unreal. It connected with us and with me in that moment. And it was pouring this love.
It's like a waterfall of love.
Whoa, it was full body shivers, like
Kundalini,
like I could have broke out in tears. Like it was just so visceral and so real, and this type of love that like a parent has for a child, almost in a weird way, or like a family member. And so I was just like, whoa, and it was just rushing through me, and this being was saying to me, like, make love, like you guys need to make love with each other, whatever that meant at the moment,
literally right now, but also like just in general, right?
In general, like the love that you're creating with him is like gonna ripple out. And like it was like so specific to me and Brendon that I was just like blown away. I wasn't afraid, I wasn't nervous, I felt so held, I felt so good, and I completely received it. And once it like went into the tree line and it disappeared, and we were both having our own experiences relatively similar. We went back into the cabin, and we were just trying to like make sense of what had just happened and articulate it, and obviously the contact continued throughout the night, as we've described before, with dream time, as I am a big dreamer and I dreamt some really wild, radical things. And from that moment on, it was like this connection between me, Brendon, and whoever that was.
This kind of like
yeah,
higher dimensional family, you know?
yeah.
So
And for me, like, you know, a lot of people talk about being star seeds or like coming from like other parts of the universe. And it's interesting because me and Brendon both share where we don't necessarily like connect to anyone in particular, like Palladian or whatever. Like we're not,
we have hunches and stuff,
but not even like for me, I just never really like necessarily, like I've definitely traveled throughout the universe and stuff like that, like in dream time, like, and when I had psychedelic experiences, it was just like very higher dimensional, like connecting with all I can say is like elven, like I don't even know, like you know, like these
councils and light
councils and stuff. Yeah. So like I had connections, but I never knew exactly where perhaps my lineage or like my soul was from. But in that moment, there was this.
It's not just where, it's when.
When, and obviously, I think there's like we connect to many different types of lifetimes and spaces throughout the universe. But in that moment, there was like this was like legit, like this was someone that like something that knew us. And I felt like it was probably one of the most holiest moments of my life in that moment. Like, I don't know if I'll ever experience quite the same thing other than childbirth.
Other than, I was about to say, other than birth. Like, that's where it's just kind of like interesting because it's like the birth of, again, I keep wanting to say his name.
We'll save it.
Yeah, we'll save it. It's sacred in that way. But I feel like with their birth, it'll kind of be like, I don't want to put an expectation on it, but it is kind of like this thing where it's like almost kind of like folding back in on those experiences where it's just kind of I'll let whoever's listening to this kind of like interpret it from, you know, based on just like kind of like what we're saying and everything like that. But just based on, again, kind of like I said, like if we had found out that she was pregnant on any other day, maybe it would have been different. But the fact that we happened to find out she was pregnant on a year to that, and then all of these hunches,
not planned,
all of these kind of like synchronicities and clues that are kind of like tying all of these stories together beyond space and time, one can kind of be led to make their own assumptions in terms of just kind of like what those connections mean. And I don't think we fully need to know exactly what they mean, but at the very least, just be able to kind of like experience like the thread of energy that kind of like moves between it,
and leaning into that.
So that's where it's just kind of like, you know, it's like in the moment of that childbirth, like I'll, in the back of my mind, I'll have that contact experience in the back of my mind and be like, whoa, like what if this is actually very similar to what I felt then? You know, like what if like there's like an energy that's just kind of like, whoa, like this is, again, kind of like very similar.
Because where are they coming from, you know?
Right, like that's like literally, where is the soul coming from? Again, a discussion perhaps for another podcast and everything like that. But yeah, I think we'll get close to wrapping this one up so we can, you know, take care of ourselves, and we got a full day ahead of us, and
it's a beautiful day.
This little one here, maybe we'll go do some hiking and everything. For those of you who are listening to this, though, we'll just talk about a couple more things and we'll wrap it up. If you want to learn more about our contact experience, I'll include a link down below for basically like a mini documentary that I put together shortly after it happened. And that's like a full thing that you can check out, and it has original audio from when it happened, and you can hear our voices and stuff, and it's very special. So go ahead and check that out if you haven't already and you're curious just to hear us talk more about that. But yeah, you know, again, just kind of getting close to wrapping this up. Just feel so incredibly blessed. It's still sinking in. I think we've been kind of like so busy just kind of getting things ready and everything like that. I think it'll be important for us to really just take, you know, more moments to really just be able to be with each other and meditate and just continue just kind of like open our hearts to what we're a part of and what this means, and just
And we're so,
yeah,
we just love that we get to share with everyone and share with you guys. Brendon has so many people that support him and
thank
love
you,
him, and
everyone.
and I indirectly get to experience that love, and it means a lot to us.
And thank you for saying that, because that's what I was wanting to kind of conclude with, is that you were kind of talking about before, where it's just like, this baby their love will ripple out, and it's amazing because we've already seen that. And to the people who have been following us on our Instagrams and commenting on our posts and keeping an eye on it, so many people have just kind of like expressed their joy for us, for this child, and for what it means to them. And that in itself is already so amazing, to know that there are people out there who look to us as kind of like, almost like I'm just kind of like I could use a few words here, but just kind of like an example, a beacon of kind of like what love is possible, and what type of love exists in this world. And to some people, they would look at our relationship and it would almost look like something out of a fairy tale. And our relationship is very sacred in its own way and very synchronistic. It's also very human. It has its ups and downs. It's not just something that's just sugar coated and stuff like that, and by no means. But again, it's
definitely pretty awesome.
It's pretty awesome. We're very blessed. And it's just really amazing for people to kind of like see our story as kind of an example of love transcending space time. And maybe another day we'll talk more about just kind of like how Lacey and I met, and just the journey that we've been on that has led us to this point, and just kind of like everything just kind of converging. And then again, I feel like the birth of this child is really just like a culmination of like the past like decade and a half that we've been getting to know each other. And the other thing that's also very exciting is that there very well could be more births beyond this one. We've Lacey and I have kind of talked about this, where for a good while we had a hunch that it might have been a girl coming through. So Lacey's kind of like, well, maybe there still is a girl that's going to come through, and we'll still cross that river definitely when we get there. So definitely. So but Lacey, anything else you want to share? And again, just huge gratitude to everybody, and please feel free to continue to leave your comments of how maybe our story and our love has inspired you. And we hope that in sharing this, or the purpose of sharing this is to kind of like share as a reflection of the universe experiencing itself. This is us documenting this very special experience that the universe is getting to go through. We just happen to be a part of it. But we hope that it in its own way also continues to like inspire the magic within your heart cave, lead you back to your heart cave, open you up to those possibilities. If it can happen to us, it can happen to you, kind of thing. And it'll happen in its own unique ways. And there's the amount of magic that kind of weaves itself through our life is equally as accessible to all of every single person who's tuned into this. It's always present. And I think just kind of being aware of it, and perhaps our relationship just kind of like helps bring it to the surface for more people to be able to see, and just to be able to reflect on how incredibly special and beautiful and magical and psychedelic this reality is. And what more psychedelic experience than to be able to bring a child into this world. So
yes, absolutely. I'm just like so blessed and so grateful to be on this journey with Brendon, and we're so excited to share our journey with you guys, and hope that you'll be along for the ride. I mean, it's exciting, and I love seeing everyone else also navigating the universe, like the wild universe that we're a part of. And
very much so.
It's just we're human, so it's a mixed bag, but I think each day I wake up and I feel very, very loved and happy and excited. And so oh, my big belly. We can't wait. I'm so excited.
Beautiful. And we'll live stream our wedding when it happens. I mean, we'll see. But anyways,
we'll definitely
next
be doing video
solstice is what we're aiming for. So
yeah, it'll probably be the summer
and our
solstice,
little one
roughly.
will walk down the aisle with us and stuff like that. So yeah, we'll figure it all out. So
and we'll have a little baby and like a little toddler in tow, which is crazy.
Yeah, very special. So yeah, with that said, we'll wrap up this discussion here unless there's anything else, Lacey, you feel we need to mention. I think we've covered a lot, and yeah, thank you for
what I was going to say, if there's anything else that you would like us to talk about, or like any
we do want to come back and do more of these episodes. We it was always our intention, and then we got pregnant, and then things got busy, and now here we are.
But we definitely want to
show up more episodes of these. So yeah,
and if you have any questions for me,
reach out
for sure.
And again, there's many ways you guys can support. Commenting, sharing this is obviously a huge help, and of course you can also check out my Patreon, which is basically for both of us, and also I'll put my PayPal link in the info for this video, so if you guys want to donate there, that will go right towards like gifts for the baby. And feel free to just reach out and send us a direct message, and we're so grateful to be able to have all of you along for this journey as we continue to float down the river here together. So yeah, cool. All right, all the links you need are in the info for this video. Stay tuned. Go back and check out episode 1 if you missed it, which is like from a year ago basically, but here we are. So we're gonna go about the rest of our day. Thank you guys so much, and it's been lovely having you here once again inside the magic of the Heart Cave. So bye everyone, we love you guys. Bye.